Welcome back again, deckheads, to Cast a Commotion, the podcast where we talk about all things flesh and blood. This time, I wanted to get this out pretty quick. It's a little last second. It's going to be not my Back to Basics series for heavy hitters, but more of a continuation of the hero's journey. And I thought of no better time to do that than when we're going to be doing Sealed all weekend, right? So this may be a little bit late or maybe a bit on time if you're only planning on doing release events and not the pre-release, but this is going to be the heavy hitters episodes, the call to adventure where I want you to enter the arena, right? So, how to start playing Flesh and Blood Sealed, right? We need to first go over many aspects of the game. I'm going to go over again a little bit, not super in depth, but how to Sealed, what you're looking for, what cards are signposts, what I'm excited about in this set. How do you build a deck in Sealed? How much time do you have? Things that I'm excited for in the set and looking forward to throughout the season of heavy hitters. I'm not so much going to talk about the death match because it doesn't affect as many people, and the new focus of Flesh and Blood, and something to talk about later as well, seems to be LSS's new focus on getting more casual players and just more people in general into the game and taking away that insanely competitive spirit away from the armories. All that and more this time on Cast a Commotion. Enter the arena. Okay, so first off, what is on the docket today? We are going to be looking at how to play Sealed. We're getting into the arena. We're really going to get in there and try to figure out this game from the inside out, from opening boosters to finding what you need and actually getting to an opponent across the table and trying to get that first victory in. So with how you play Sealed, right? Pretty easy. I'm just going to go over the basics. So first off, you're going to go ahead and you're going to open up 6 booster packs at the table. So you're going to pay for your Sealed, you're going to get in, have all the socialization time. But when it gets down to time, you're going to get 6 booster packs, okay? So with those 6 booster packs, you're going to have to wait for the timer to start because you do have certain time limits set to your game. You're going to pick one hero, likely designated by something called signposts and cards that indicate that you should be playing this hero. That won't always be the case, simply because, well, sometimes the cards aren't just going to go your way. It's the one reason I really don't like Sealed as much as Draft, but it is still fun. It's a good entry point because it doesn't quite have that skill cap, that skill limiter, that curve really going into it as that Draft does. This is a good way to get your collection started, a good way to jump into the game, a good way to get exposed to a lot of cards, see everything from the new set that you're going to be opening up, all your friends are opening up, and anyone in the area is opening up. You're going to start with a minimum of 30 cards, right? That should be pretty apparent, realistically, from any other game. I can't imagine another game that didn't have like a 30 or a 40 card limit. This one is 30. I don't think there's a cap on heavy hitters the same way there was bright lights. I haven't super dug into that yet. I really should. I'm just kind of looking at spoilers right now because I want to start looking for cards that I want to talk about, right? But beyond that, so we're opening 6 boosters. We're picking a young hero from the set, okay? So yeah, you're going to open up the Majestics. You might open up the Marvels of your adult heroes. You can open up all these great cards and fantastic centerpieces to your collection, but we're just concerned with the young hero at this time for this tournament, right? You're going to start with a 30-card deck, for sure. Any amount of any unique card, okay? So normally, like in Blitz, you can only have 2 of each copy. In Classic Constructed, you can have 3 of each copy. In Sealed or Draft, however many of X card in red you get is how many you can play. So you can have 4 or 5, whatever. If you get lucky, you get lucky. You know what I mean? There's 30 minutes to each round, including deck building. So after you've opened up all your cards, you're going to have 30 plus 5 minutes. 30 minutes to kind of sort out, build your deck, 5 to get ready for the next little bit, right? In Sealed, you're going to remove the last 2, just like in Draft, you're going to remove the last 2 cards to the pack. Okay. That's where the Marvels can be. That's where the Cold Foils can be. They are not playable, right? You're going to register any young heroes, other set cards that you open from the packs. Your pool is going to include every card that you've opened from the packs and any number of any rarity card that are going to be from there. Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else in the token pack, and I think it's like the extended arts. Any non-token card removed from the token slot of a booster is not legal. Okay, so that's cold foils, extended arts, legendaries, fableds, and Marvel non-young hero cards, right? Obviously, in limited formats, we're just playing with the young heroes. Tokens are to be kind of removed. You just need to distribute them amongst who needs them. There should be enough for everybody to go around. Cracked baubles. Oh, what is up with cracked baubles? I forget about that in sealed. In draft, it's usually going to be a last pick. I think they're just into the card pool, and whoever needs them gets them. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. What else is really to note about sealed? It really isn't as complicated as draft. And that's something I probably should have talked about in the last episode is, yes, draft is fantastic, but sealed is an even better way to get into the game for new players or players like me who like to collect whole sets of things. It just gets you a big old bomb of cards. You should be playing all weekend and having a blast. I don't know if there's any. I'm trying to think. In Uprising, there were Phoenix Flames that you could add to your deck at any point in time. In Bright Lights, you only opened up 4 packs and had a deck maximum of 40. I don't think there's anything like that in Heavy Hitters. Make sure to check again online to make sure there's nothing about it. I should be the authority on this. I am going to say right off rip, I'm going to say there's nothing like that in Heavy Hitters. I don't think there's any Phoenix Flames. I don't think there's anything like that. Get prepared for your tournament and get ready for a day of fun, right? Matches are going to be 30 minutes after your deck construction of 30 minutes, and you're off to the races. Now, going down the docket, that's my how to play section. I want to go like what classes are in this set. All right. If you've not been looking at spoilers for whatever reason, then you may not know that the set classes are going to be Warrior. It's Warrior, Brute, Guardian, no ninjas, nothing else like that. Warrior, Brute, and Guardian. Now, there's a couple of each of those classes, like Outsiders. There are 6 total heroes. The heroes being, for the Brutes, are going to be Rhinar the Reckless Rampage and KO. Okay? It's a different KO. It's not the same one. It takes advantage, he takes advantage of cards that have less than 6 power. So he's going to make a lot of older cards relevant in a big way. Rhinar is the same old Rhinar you've been playing against since Welcome to Wraith. Just, in my opinion, not better art, but different art. I love the original Rhinar, just him walking through the forest, but him in the pits, depressing but not depressing. How did he get there? Why is he there? Why? It's just, I kind of want to know what's up with that. Why is he there voluntarily? I don't know. But past that, you then have Warriors. And for Warriors, you have a returning hero, Kasai, but as an adult this time. So Kasai has grown up. No longer the Centauri Sellsword. I don't remember exactly what she goes by. Let me take a quick peek here. It's Kasai of the Golden Sand. Through and through a pit fighter. She fights for gold. That's the only thing she cares about. She's all about that money. The young hero has also returned. Not the Centauri Sellsword, but just Kasai. That's all Kasai is Kasai. New ability. Make sure to check that out. She brings back the Centauri Sabers, which is very interesting because in the past, when a hero has become a living legend, they take their weapons with them. But this introduces a new concept to the game that I hadn't considered before. At least I don't think I have on the podcast anyway. The Centauri Sabers are not gone. New Kasai claims them as her signature weapons. So they just found those to be exactly what she needed for a limited environment and said, hey, we're just going to give those weapons right back to her. So unlike other weapons, the Centauri Sabers are here to stick around. All right. Then for the second warrior, you have Olympia, who I'm not as familiar with. Right. So we're going to take a quick peek at Olympia. The first time each of your attacks wins a wager, create a gold token. really simple on the surface. Probably a lot of gamble play. And in a game like Flesh and Blood, I find it never worth it to gamble on the draw, gamble on the hit, gamble on all that. You need to try to make sure you get as much as possible, because everybody's logic train, once they become good enough at this game, at the combat flow, will just know what not to do, what not to let hit, what not to let through. So kind of a skill checker hero, but also a gambler himself, and maybe you can bluff with that. That could open up some interesting lines of play. I'm sure everybody else has been talking about heavy hitters for so long, and I'm just now putting out my first content piece on it, but different takes, hopefully. Right. So you have Kasai and Olympia, the prized fighter, for your warrior slots. And then after that, you have my personal favorite heroes. I don't know why I identify with Guardians so much. I thought that I wouldn't, so much so that I avoided it up until Oldham. But man, Betsy, skin in the game. Betsy, she is just fantastic. Absolute house, just 100% unit. Love everything about Betsy. So in the young form, you've got 20 life, 4 intellect. Whenever an attack you control wagers, you may pay 2 resources. If you do, it gets +1 in overpower. I have heard left and right people complain about this and try to say, oh, it's just a worse Bravo. It doesn't give your opponent an opportunity to disrupt. It doesn't give them that opportunity. So in the future, when we do get more ice effects or more wizards or whatever, it doesn't give them the opportunity. You're coming at them with everything you got, and they can't stop it, right? Overpower is not quite as good as dominate, but it also doesn't give you that trigger or interaction time. So there's value in that, in just getting what you want, right? As I said earlier, with cards, play, gameplay, all that, the less you have to gamble on something happening, the better. Granted, she's wagering when she's doing this. She just gets it, no matter what. And after that, you have Victor Goldmane, or Victor Goldmane, High and Mighty. Not what I normally would picture when I think of the word Guardian. Very lordly, knightly, robed in that crimson and gold, khakis, high boots, perfectly kempt hair. I don't know where they're, I mean, this might be a Solana. No, they are, because they have a Solana Guardian, Solana border. So I didn't know this kind of thing existed in Solana. I thought Solana was more humble about its warriors, but maybe not. This one says the first time each turn you create a gold token from an effect you control, you draw a card. And the first time each turn you would fail to win a clash. Instead, you may destroy a gold you control. If you do, put 1 revealed card on the bottom of its owner's deck and then clash again. Interesting that they brought what was previously only available to the assassin, aka the control of the top of a deck, to the Guardian class. And I had previously thought assassin was tilted a little more towards the warrior style of play. Maybe this is just a whole new method of control done through heavy on hits with the Guardian abilities, as well as controlling what your opponent draws to a degree. Obviously, I think I saw somewhere in there something like Miller's Grindstone. So assumptively, we'll be seeing a card destruction format coming very soon. I know some people are not very excited about a slowed down game pace, but that's what we need. Realistically, we have lived for so long in the era of dead flat out speed with Lexi, Phi, Katsu popping up for a brief amount of time. Before that was Viserai, Briar. We have been at a breakneck pace for so long that I need something to change. I know many other players who have not been in the game as long or have been watching from the sideline. I have been playing since the second I bought my first pack. I need this pace to slow down. I have, it's been breakneck the whole time. While I am adapting, while I've clearly had some successes of my own, it's just not, you can't do it for that long, you know? You gotta change up the pace of the game. And I think Victor Goldmane is going to be the one to do it. And if the game does slow down, then you start to see options open up for Teklavison, who right now is getting shit on and dogged on constantly for being bad. Same with Riptide. Riptide might be able to handle a turn or two if the game slows down. So those are all the heroes that are in this set, the classes, right? The brutes, warriors, guardians. So we've gone over how to build a deck, or not really how to build a deck, but what you're going to be doing to build a deck, your time restraints, what is sealed. We've gone over the classes that are in this set, some of the heroes. I kind of want to look at a few of the abilities in this set now. And we'll do that in just a second. We're looking at returning cards like Pack Hunt, Claws, Lunging Press, all this kind of stuff. We're going to go over all of that more in detail in the Back to Basics podcast episode, which I'll be putting out a little bit, hopefully next week, realistically. But I just want to look at some of the keywords like Beat Chest. Okay. As an additional cost to pay this, you may discard a cost with 6 or more. If you're going brute and you see a lot of Beat Chest, just keep in mind, you need a lot of cards with 6 or more power to really use this ability. Okay. We'll go over more about it later. Not in this episode, again, in the Back to Basics. I'm just going over a quick primer to let you know what you're in for. Clash is when both heroes reveal the top of their deck, and if you have the greater power of the 2 cards revealed, you win the clash. You do what the clash says. You just do it, okay? There's more on that, obviously, again. Guardwell. I love this, and I hate this. We can't power creep Battle Worn yet. Too young. Too young of a game to be power creeping super hard yet. We're getting there, but still too young. So what Guardwell says is when the combat chain closes, if this defended, it gets -1 defense for every defense it has. So if you block with a piece of armor and it has 2 armor, at the end of the chain, it will get -2 armor. Doesn't break, doesn't leave, doesn't do anything. It just kind of becomes useless after that. Universal means that while the card is at all visible in any zone or wherever it is the same class as your hero. Has a lot of implications for wider classic constructed play, but it also means that those universal cards are universally used. It's not just generic now. Now it benefits from your hero's abilities and things that say your next guardian, your next brute, your next warrior, right? Anytime it says anything to do with your class, these are now affected by that. Wager is when this resolves, okay, whenever the attack is over, whenever the ability, whatever, if the attack hit, you create a token that it says you're wagering for. If not, your opponent gets that. Super simple. There's more complicated stuff about that, but just know when you're wagering, you're actually wagering not just that you're going to get something, but that you might lose something and you might give tempo or shift or resources to the opponent. You really will have to think of 1 gold as a 2 gold swing. You're not getting one and your opponent is getting one, and you paid the resources for it. So it's quite damning if you mess that one up. Okay. So that is the mechanics. Those are the abilities of the set. That's the classes in the set, some of the heroes, and how to play sealed. I want to go over this spoiler list real quick and kind of look for cards that I think are very important for sealed. We'll talk more about what I'm excited for later in the development of the set. Just realized that the monitor was covering up like a good amount of the light that should have been on me. Still getting used to this whole new setup, but I hope if you are watching the video form of this podcast, you can see I did get a new camera. These colors are fantastic. I hope you can finally see the effort I've put into the background here. I hope the lighting is working out correctly. Let me know if you see any differences that are positive. Let me see if you see any differences that are negative. If this is too zoomed in or if I need to probably find a wider view camera lens or something. I don't know. I'm all new to it. Let me know in the comments below of this or any podcast you'd be listening to. Okay. So cards that I would be excited to see in my sealed pool. Okay. If I remember right, you're not going to be using legendaries. You're not going to be using any of that kind of stuff in your sealed pool. So we need to be looking for cards that make your deck consistently good so you can win more cards, right? Obviously, oh man, I want my Majestics. Of course you do. Of course you do. We all want 10 Majestics in our sealed pool. It ain't happening. So what can you look forward to? You can look forward to things that give you a little bit more consistency. Let's take a look at Pack Hunt. If I see a bunch of Pack Hunts, it's a card that I know I can rely on and have relied on in the past. to close out games, right? The blue one scales really well for late game. It's a blue pitch, 3 block, attacks for 4, and also intimidate. So if your opponent's kind of on a shaky foundation already late game, it can finish up the job. Okay. You have things like Wild Ride. It's a 2 for 6. It doesn't defend, but it can get go again, so it can open up your turns a little bit more. All right. So if you see a lot of Wild Rides, maybe that's something to look at. I don't like Bare Fangs as much. The extra power is nice, but it doesn't really open up your turns at all. And then you have like, let's see here. I don't like Beast Mode as much. Pack Call is decent. Blocks 3, lets you look at the top of your deck. You can kind of plan for what you're going to draw and discard. But I think I'm most excited when it comes to brutes for consistency. I'm looking at things like Pack Hunt. Oh, man. It's hard to call because I don't know if these are all the spoilers or not. Pound Town is funny, right? You can create a might token if you've beaten Chest. And with Rhinar, you're intimidating, you're coming in for 7, you're creating extra power for next turn. That's okay. I would really be looking more for like Wild Rides and Pack Hunts. Those are very consistently good cards that open up your turn and help you seal turns in games, right? As far as weapons go, man, I really want to say Mini Meat Axe. I really, really hope. Yeah, I really want to say Mini Meat Axe is probably the most desirable of the weapons, right? Because when it attacks, you draw a card, you discard a random card. And honestly, that just seems better to me than the one Mandible Claw. They both cost the same resources. You can turn Mandible Claw on with Wild Ride and things like that, but I don't know. It just Mandible Claw or Mini Meat Axe for sure. Avoid Ball Breaker. I thought it was funny at first, but if you've discarded a card with 6 or more power, it gets +1. Yes, having a 4 attack weapon is good, but how often are you going to get there? I wouldn't be aiming for Ball Breaker. I would be aiming for the Meat Axe because it actually turns on a few other cards that require you to discard any kind of 6 power cards, right? Moving along from what I see in the Brute, I want to talk about Guardian. Let's see here. Out of the 2 weapons, if you've drawn a card this turn, this gets +1, is the High Riser. And it attacks for 3 resources. Or there's Miller's Grindstone, which is when this hits a hero clash with them, if you win, destroy the top of their deck. If they win, put a -1 counter on this. That's risky, but in limited, in sealed, you only have 30 or 40 cards. It might be worth shooting for the card destruction and taking away their resources. At the very least, it makes sure they block. That's interesting. And obviously in Guardian, you're going to be having a lot of high power cards anyway, but that's what this whole set is. That might be a pick and choose your battles kind of thing, right? Tons of equipment for Guardian. Just pick up whatever you can. If you're getting good Guardian cards, so be it. I don't like Lay Down the Law. It's asking a lot of you. 7, 3 for 3. If it has 13 or more power, non-equipment cards get -1 while defending this. I don't think that's going to be as consistent as other things like, well, maybe not even over the top. A lot of Guardian cards are very basic, it looks like. There's Concuss, but I don't know how Guardians are giving their cards power. Thunk, when you win a clash revealing this, create a might token. That's fantastic. It has 8 power, it costs 5, it's a huge attack in limited, 3 defense, and then has a benefit for clashing, which all of the heroes seem to want to do a little bit of. So maybe Thunks, because even the blue one is 6 power. You can stack your Guardian deck with that. It's a common card. If you see a lot of Thunks, I would start thinking about Guardian. That's a card I'm getting excited about now, right? Then you have Wallop, same thing. When you clash, revealing this, create a Vigor token. Fantastic. So for, well, the blue is only 5 attacks. So that's not as exciting as Thunk is. You have Big Bop at the start of your turn. Destroy this. Your next Guardian attack, it's +5. And when this attacks a hero, you may wager a Vigor with them. That can be okay, right? Limited play is limited play, and that has a place here, but I just don't like it as much. Pint of strong and stout, I'm just not digging either. Guardian seems a bit rougher from what I'm seeing here, right? Thunks are good. Oh man, I'm having a rough time recommending Guardian. Guardian might be one of the weaker classes in sealed from what I'm just seeing here in the spoiler pool. I'm not liking Guardian as much. Obviously, big hits are big hits. If you get the Golden Sun or Bet Big, the specializations for those Guardians, go for it. But yeah, Colossal Bearing's an attack for 8 with 3 defense and 4 power. It's fine. Smack of Reality, 5 for 9. These are all really good for Betsy. Let me rephrase. Betsy can give all of these cards more power than their base power just by paying for it with her triggered ability. So any of these cards that say if they have more base power, they're fantastic. And if you see a ton of that, you're going Betsy. But I don't know about all these Clash cards. They don't... I don't know. This isn't exactly a tier list, but as far as I'm concerned, Rhinar the Reckless Rampage is tier 1 from what I'm seeing. KO is fantastic and great, but the fact that you're going to have access to some of these discard weapons and some of these discard effects, Rhinar, I feel, is just fantastic for sealed. KO may be great later on, or maybe I'm misreading. Always read your cards and feel out your gut, see what you want to do, right? But if I'm checking the Guardians for a tier system, I'm putting Betsy ahead of Victor just for the overpower and the extra power she can give it and turn on all these Guardian cards. Okay. So then we'll just skip down to Kasai and some of the cards I'm excited about here. I was interested at looking at this weapon called Hot Streak. Okay. It's when this is defended by one or more attack action card. Hot Streak gets go again. It can definitely put some pressure on as a secondary weapon, right? It's not Centauri Sabers, but it has a built-in possible go again. And considering we're in a limited format, most people's decks are going to be mostly attack actions. And near the end of the game, it kind of has this Kodachi kind of effect where you can't just take 2 damage, but you have to give up a certain card and make your opponent think a bit more. Otherwise, it gets go again. So it could be a good, kind of like a good mid-chain attack, right? I don't care so much for Parry Blade. This gets +2 while defending a weapon attack with Blade Break. It's versatile. I will give it that. And could be the difference between winning and losing a game. I think I like Hot Streak and Parry Blade a lot more than I like Centauri Sabers in the limited formats. So keep an eye on Hot Streak for sure. I feel like that card has a lot of potential. Again, obviously we could look at Majestics all day, Blade Fury, Shift the Tide of Battle. All of this is fantastic, but you need to be looking at realistic cards and what you should be looking for signposts. What's telling you what's more likely for you to play? Let's look at Fatal Engagement. 2 for 3 block, red. Play this only if an attack action card is defending this chain link. This attack gets +5. That is dog shit. Like, it's fine. Target attack gets +5, but you can only play it if an attack action card is defending. In the mirror, that could be problematic, right? Now, here's the thing. There are, as far as I can tell, no defense reactions in this whole set. That is interesting. No defense reactions in the whole set? Are there block cards? There's block cards, I think. So they're trying to take away some of the power that defense reactions have in the larger meta, it looks like, and trying to lean heavier on that block card. Maybe defense reactions will be reserved for specialty scenarios from here on out, because Sink Below, like we saw Sink Below dominating the meta for the past couple of years, it's in every deck. So maybe they're trying to take that whole power away from defense reactions. I do not like Fatal Engagement. I do not think if you have a ton of these, you have a warrior deck. They are fine, and the blue one does have value. It's +3 on a reaction for 2 resources. That's not great, but it's a blue 3 block. That scales late game. Your opponent starts to get desperate and blocks with some of those. Well, that is interesting because it's a reaction and it says play this only if the attack action card is defending. So you get to see that beforehand. I would say if you have a bunch of blue of these, you have the starts of a warrior deck. Take the upper hand is 0. Target attack gets +3. Play this only if you've wagered. I find that to be miles worse. I'm not the biggest fan of these reactions we're seeing so far, but again, the blue one has value. 0 0 cost, blue pitch, 3 defense, minor pump. That's fine. Let's see, agile engagement. I think agile engagement's fine overall. It's just a replacement for a razor reflex in this slot. 1 for +3, no matter what the warrior attack is fantastic. The fact that it has no stipulation on how or when you can play it is great. And if it's defended by an attack action card, you create an agility token, which is not as good as a quicken token, but it is fantastic. So if you start to see a bunch of agile engagements, I think you start to see the beginnings of a warrior deck. Same thing with vigorous engagements. And wow, draw swords. 3 resources, 3 block. Your next warrior attack gets +3. Draw a card and go again. I know a lot of people will probably shit on this card, but I think this has some power behind it. It says your next warrior attack, it draws you a card, has go again, and has 3 defense. If you start to see a bunch of that, you might have something. Edge ahead. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager an agility token. These are fantastic. If you start to see edge ahead, draw swords, engage Swiftblade, all of that, that's when you're going to start to see a warrior deck form. Okay? You don't need... If you have a bunch of agile engagements, maybe not, but take the upper hand is trash. Fatal engagement, I'm not a big fan of, and obviously Majestics are Majestics. So don't put too much stock in those other cards unless you absolutely have to. And now the interesting part. Oh, yeah, if you start to see all those warrior actions, you're much better off. The reactions are a bit more situational. They're good supplements, but you have to make sure you have core, engage Swiftblade, edge ahead, and hold them. If you have a bunch of that, you're looking at a warrior deck. Don't put too much stock into reactions. Reactions are inherently lower rate cards than you think. So let's take a look at some of these hybrid class cards. You have Clash of Might. When this this is one of the 6 attack, 3 block for 2. When this defends clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates a Might token. These are what are going to start to make and break your deck, because that's Brute and Guardian. I'm sure there's a bunch of Brute and Warrior stuff. Is there anything super exciting in here? I love Lead with Power. It sacrifices a little bit on the defense, but it gives your next attack +3, and then you create a Might token for next turn and kind of gives you tempo. I love that. Wage Might, I'm not as big of a fan as, but Lead with Power, I feel like you have a bunch of these, you're going to start to have really strong Brute and Guardian presence, right? Runner, I'm not the biggest fan of. That's a Majestic. Like, it's good, but cool, you got a Majestic. Guess what? You have some power in that class. Clash of Agility. When this defends clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates an agility token. Brute Warrior. You don't usually want to be giving up cards on your opponent's turn for the benefit, but that could be. And the problem with these kind of cards is the agility token automatically cracks on the beginning of your turn, if I remember correctly. I don't like that. I'm not a big a fan of that. The block cards are fine. When this defends clash with them, the winner creates something. That's fine, because they're literally designed for that. But throwing it away an attack to get that benefit, I'm not as big a fan as. There are these cards called Agile Windup, right? And there's an archetype of these where it's instant, discard this, create an agility token. That's what I'm talking about. That has some versatility. Okay. That is some versatility. With Rhinar specifically, talk about an endgame finisher. You should be, if you see a bunch of blue Agile Windups or blue, what is that, Rising Speed? If you've drawn a card this turn, this gets go again. I don't know about that. Is that one the only one that does that? The Agile Windup? Interesting. The blue one is where it's at, right? You have a blue pitch, late game, you're Rhinar, you need to finish the game. You get 2 of these in your hand and another blue, like a good pack hunt. You get to intimidate twice on demand. and then swing in with an attack. And on the next turn, after you've created that pressure, you're creating an agility token. Agile windup is fantastic. I would love to have a set of these into a good Rhinar build. I don't like it as much in Warrior. You don't get as much utility. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that. If you've drawn a card this turn, this gets go again. I don't like rising speed as much at all. Now, that said, going into a Blood Rush turn, okay, just for argument's sake, going into a Blood Rush turn with rising speed, if you've drawn a card this turn, this gets go again, it'll be coming in for 7. 2 for 7 go again. You're starting to see some potential outside of the sealed event. Lead with speed is your next brute or warrior tech. It's +3, create an agility. Same thing as with the brute guardian version of this. You start seeing these, you get some serious power into your ability to create tempo in the sealed environment. So lead with speed. Maybe not mighty wind up, but lead with speed. And what was the other one? Edge ahead. Was it edge ahead or was it don't quite remember. But those kind of cards, if you see those like warrior-esque action pumps where it's pay 1 resource, your next attack gets +3, go again, and possibly some other thing, those cards will start to create your deck pretty fast because those give you tokens for your next turn and give you tempo. Whether or not you're able to keep it, I don't know, but I like that quite a bit. Don't like, again, I'm not going to look at Majestics. If you get double down or all these other things, fantastic for you. You got Majestics. But Hardy block. When you defend with this, if you control Vigor, gain a life. Too situational. Not a fan of it. Rising Energy. If you've drawn a card this turn, this costs 1 resource less to play. Warrior Guardian, 6 attack. Not for sealed. You won't be wanting to see that card for sealed. 1 for 6 would be fantastic. If you're going Victor, it looks like Victor is going to be a little confused in identity in sealed, because this obviously feeds into a Victor style of play, but something about it doesn't feel right to me. So be wary of looking to play Victor. I don't like just damning a hero right off the bat. I'm just giving first impressions of spoilers and kind of what I'd be looking for in a sealed pool. Vigorous windup, discard this, create a vigor token. Don't like it. It's not a brute style card, so it doesn't fit into Rhinar, and I don't like just giving up a 7 attack for free just to create a vigor token. Now, there is utility in this now that I think about it. On your turn, if you've done your attacks and all that and you've created pressure and you don't want to just arsenal this card, this gives it an option to discard it and be applicable to next turn as well. So if you get a couple of these kind of vigors that gives your attacks go again, so you can get that hot streak go again or whatever else go again, sure. Now I'm starting to see the value in these cards as not chain enders, but turn value creators? Question marks? I'm going to take a look over here and see lead with the heart. Your next guardian or warrior attack gets +3, create a vigor. Love it. Love it. You see those cards, like I said, you're going to start looking more at your classes to be guardian or warrior. Any of those pumps will start, I feel like, start to dictate how you're going to push tempo, and tempo is everything in sealed. You let go of tempo and you might be done. Lots of generic equipment. If you get equipment, fantastic. You get equipment. Majestic generics. Just there's no point in really looking at these because, again, if you get a generic Majestic, awesome. You did it. Let's look at down but not out. When this attacks a hero, if you have less life and control fewer equipment and tokens than them, that's a lot of ifs. If you have less life and control fewer equipment and tokens than them, this gets +3 and overpower, and when this hits, create all of the tokens. Yeah, Magical Christmas Land would be great. Maybe this is a good blue. If you see a bunch of these, obviously, if you're gonna, it's a rare and it's got some good attack, but I think the blue one is the most valuable. 3 pitch, costs 3, 3 attack, 3 defense. And if you are behind in the game and you're coming up on your second pitch stack of your sealed, this might be a 3 for 6 overpower that threatens some pressure. So the blue one, I'm a big fan of for sealed and draft, realistically. Wage gold, 3 for 7 universal. You may wager a gold token. That's okay. It's not incredible. Then you have things like Adrenaline Rush making a return. When you play this, if you have less life, it gets +3. It's just fine. Not anything super exciting. I'm not seeing a lot of crazy generic cards that I'd be super excited about, to be honest with you. And then we're looking at some of the expansion slot cards here. Okay. As far as I see on these spoilers, I don't see anything to get super excited about. And you can't even use them anyway, so we're not even going to talk about that for sealed. So those are some of the signposts for the set that I've talked about. If you heard me say them, right? We'll just go over and try to... Well, I'll be jump cutting this next part because Assault and Battery, Pack Hunt, and probably Wild Rides. Okay? You see a bunch of those, you're going Brute. Like, I don't like a lot of the other cards. I don't take Beast Mode as a signpost. I don't take the Majestics as an immediate signpost. I don't take Pack Calls signposts, Bear Fangs, all that. I don't take those as signposts. Those are good cards to supplement the deck, but if you see Assault and Battery, Assault and Battery, Pack Hunts, and Wild Rides, you're in business to be a Brute. Okay. As far as Guardians, kind of situational if you're seeing a lot of these cards that say if it has greater power, this gains overpower, you're looking at Betsy. If you see a lot of these cards that say if you clash, you're looking at Victor. I think Guardian is going to be one of the harder, more inconsistent classes you can play in this. So if you do start to get stuck with this, you're going to be relying heavily on big generics, big blocks, and maybe a few of those split hybrid cards, Brute Guardian, Warrior Guardian, whatever. That's going to be more dependent, in my opinion, with what I'm seeing here. None of the Guardian cards stand out to me as like, holy shit, I need to play Guardian. Maybe some people are seeing something I'm not, but I think the best one of them is probably like Thunk, because it's a blue 3-block that has 6 attacks, so it scales really well into the later game. I'm not super high on Guardian in this set for sealed. I see a lot of potential for classic constructed. Sealed is looking a little bit harder. Okay. And then as for Warrior, I think if you see Hot Streaks, you're in business. If you see Parry Blade and you just need a second card, you're in business. Parry Blade. If you see Parry Blade, you're in business. I don't like Fatal Engagement. I don't like Take the Upper Hand. I don't like all these cards that say if you've wagered, if you've clashed, if an attack action is blocking. All these are way too situational for my tolerance. But if you start to see like Vigorous Engagement, right? Edge Ahead, or these basic pumps, right? That's when I think you're in business. So if you see Hot Streaks and you see Engaged Swift Blades and things like that, I think that's where you're at. And then as far as my favorite hybrid cards, I don't like the Clash cards as much. I like the cards like Mighty Wind Up, the instant discard a card, get a token. I like those more now as Brute because you can force Rhinar interaction, intimidation, right? You can force Rhinar intimidation into big attacks. You can end chains with them. You can end turns with them by setting up value. If you've taken more value than your turn was worth from your opponent because of bad blocking or just unfortunate circumstances, these can make your tempo bleed into the next turn. So I like those cards a little bit more now. So be on the lookout for those. I don't like a lot of the wager cards. I don't like the Clashes of Agility. Oh man. A lot of these hybrid cards are just not my favorite. Test of Vigor, not really my favorite. Rising Energy, no. I do like cards like Lead with the Heart. Okay. The +3 to your next attack and it just creates a Vigor token. It's just Value City, right? They don't block for as much, which is unfortunate, but I believe these will push victories a lot better and push you in the right direction to what class you need to hit a lot better. So look for cards like that. The Lead with the Heart, which gives you a Vigor, whatever the hell the one is for Might, and the other one, right? And as far as generics go, I like blue down but not outs. Tenacity, I don't think is going to be that good. Tenacity is going to be great for ninjas. Huh. Maybe Tenacity will be good. We'll find out. I don't really like Wage Gold as much. None of these other cards are really that exciting to me at all. So that's kind of the rundown of signposts and cards that I'd be looking to use. Really not a lot much more to go over because I don't want to make it super complicated. I wanted to make this kind of easy to listen to. How to play sealed, what classes are in the set, what are the heroes, what abilities do they have, what are the signposts, and then as far as building a deck, look for those signposts, look for 30 cards minimum, and do your best. Make your best judgment calls, right? If you really want to play a hero, go for it. But I think if you're looking for the better experiences, how to become a better deck builder, get more prizes, and try to take the weekend to its fullest, I think you need to be trying to build what you get, right? You're not always going to get to play the exact hero you're after. And I'd be kind of bummed if I were playing Guardian, to be honest, other than Betsy, maybe, right? So as far as cards that I'm excited to look for collecting in this set, I mean, I don't even play Azalea, but Judge, Jury, and Executioner are fantastic. Coercive Tendencies, right? All of these cards, if you get them, make sure to trade them exactly for what you need because they're going to be in hot demand. We've seen what the expansion slot did in Bright Lights, and and further it kind of in Dusk Till Dawn, and it's just, you know what I mean? It's just not, it's not wise to hold on to these cards for so long that they lose value immediately. And this is not a market watch. There's nothing stupid like that. I'm just saying, get the full value out of your cards and get yourself set into the heroes that you want to go into, right? Get that trading done. This is a goddamn trading card game, right? So with that, I want to go ahead and invite everybody to check me out on Patreon, right? Become a supporter. If you like this content and it's done anything for you, I've got a few. I could always use some more, though. The more of that I get, the more better this content gets.
Real trap shit.
Yes, it's true. The more better this content gets. As you can see, any bit I have gotten from patrons or sales on the Crash Command games, TCG Player, or eBay, this camera is fantastic. I love this camera. It's not the highest end one, but I love what it's done for the production of this. I love the sound equipment that I'm getting, the new lighting. I want to make a better quality content piece for you. Right? I do. This is all, I just want to keep reinvesting and making sure that I can put out the best quality that I can. And I'm glad to do that for everybody here. Thanks again, deck heads, for tuning in to Cast a Commotion. Yeah. Get into that Patreon. Check out my socials. It's all going to be listed somewhere around me. I'm sure of it. Good luck. Have fun. And this one's zeroed.